Nations. This is how it feels for Israel at the United Nations on a good day, out in the cold. I've spent a good part of my diplomatic career, certainly my diplomatic career in connection with the UN and the UN system, trying to prevent institutions of the United Nations from being used as weapons against Israel, against the United States, against the West as a whole. Unfortunately, it's been a long and difficult road, but now we're faced with a potential crisis in the waning days of the Obama administration that could have very far-reaching repercussions for the United States, for Israel, for peace and security in the Middle East. You know, it's almost 2017. It's almost the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War and Resolution 242 and the later Resolution 338. For 50 years, we've had a bipartisan foreign policy in this country that ultimately peace and security in the Middle East had to come from agreement to all the parties. That parties outside the region, if they tried to impose their version of what peace would look like, would not only fail in that endeavor, that they would actually cause harmful consequences for all the peoples of the region. Now, these efforts at outside influence have come in a variety of different ways. People in the Middle East like to talk about creating facts on the ground as if those are going to influence the peace process. What we're talking about now are efforts that have been ongoing for a long time to create facts on the ground in the United Nations to pursue the fiction that resolutions across First Avenue really have an impact that will lead to lasting peace and international security in the broader region. It hasn't been true for 50 years. It's not true today, and it won't be true for the next month either. Now, we don't know exactly what the nature could be of these various resolutions that are being talked about. You've heard from Morton, Aaron, and Joe some of the variations of it. It could be a Security Council resolution. It could be a General Assembly resolution. It could recognize the existence of a Palestinian state. It could attempt to define the boundaries of a Palestinian state. It could attempt to define the boundaries of Israel. It could do lesser things. You know, one of the phenomena here at the UN is that somebody proposes an outrageous resolution and then you compromise so that the ultimate product is not outrageous, it's merely unacceptable. And that is considered progress. So I don't think we should fall for that trap in this case either. I think the main point is that enemies of the U.S.-Israel relationship see an opportunity here. We've got a president, sadly, who has the worst governmental-to-governmental relations with the state of Israel since the modern state was created in 1948. I think that will change. The relationship between the people of the United States and Israel hasn't changed these past years. But right now, we've got a president in the post-election period, before his term is up, who faces no political consequences and who could well take steps that violate this 50-year bipartisan agreement that it's not for the United States or anybody else to impose what the final peace terms will be between Israel and the other parties in the Middle East. It would have, I think, seriously negative consequences for the prospects of lasting peace. So whatever the form of the resolution, frankly, whether it's a Security Council resolution that the United States doesn't veto or might even vote in favor of, or a meaningless resolution in the General Assembly, it's something that we urge the President not to undertake. There's a reason there's been a consistent U.S. policy across all party lines all these years, because it's the right policy. We're not going to impose peace by declaring what the boundaries are, what a state is, or who's in charge of it. parties themselves will come to that agreement. It's a slow, difficult process, but it's, I think, inevitably going to be that way as long as there are those out there who want to destroy the state of Israel and harm American interest in the region. So although we just have a short period of time until the General Assembly normally wraps up as the calendar year ends, we have until the 20th of January. The Security Council is always in session. We know from friends in Europe that draft resolutions are out there in a variety of different forms. I take this to be a real and palpable danger, not one that's gotten the coverage that it deserves, obviously, in the tumult of the election and the transition period, but something we wanted to underline here today. All of us from various different perspectives fear this outcome. We want to alert people to the threat that we're facing and urge everybody who values the only functioning democracy in the Middle East, who values the U.S.-Israel relationship, who values the importance of peace and security in that critical region of the world, to let the president know that we want him to uphold 50 years of bipartisan foreign policy and not deviate from it in the closing days of his administration. Thank you very much.